And welcome to episode 23 of The M&E Show. My name is Emily.
My name is Ethan.
Ethan, will you be so kind as to lead us with the 3 deep breaths?
It would be my absolute pleasure. Here we go. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it at the top. Exhale. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it at the top. Let it go. One more time. Inhale through your nose. Hold it at the top. And let it go. Episode 23. Last week was about death. This one's going to be a little more positive. We're still trying to figure out how we're going to move forward with this podcast. But today, we're going to dive into relationships. Our own relationship, other people's relationships, what a relationship is. And yeah, I'm excited.
As am I. Yes, we will begin with discussing the conversation we had just a couple days ago.
What was that conversation?
It was about space. Yeah, so we had a discussion a few days ago about space because Ethan and I are so fortunate, so grateful to have been unemployed for the past couple months. And that gave us the opportunity to really consciously, mostly unconsciously, I feel like prioritize our relationship to the nth degree. We feel so good and happy with where we're at and what we've established as our foundation these past couple of months. I recently became employed again, and
Recently, like literally 1 hour ago. She said,
yeah, it was my
she
first.
started.
It was my first shift an hour or so ago. But would you like to continue?
Yeah. In life, we have to choose between all the options that we have, which can be work, family, fun, whatever other million things there are to do. And by choosing one, you inevitably don't choose the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, without even realizing it, we kind of just ended up choosing each other. And I brought up that funny reel that popped up on my feed, which was, if a private investigator followed you for a week, what would his findings be, or her findings? And what would they find your priorities to be? And it's so interesting because just looking at it from like a third person's perspective, like someone else looking in on you, it helps you kind of see yourself a little bit easier. And yeah, these last 2 months, besides our own health and the things that we were working on as individuals, I definitely would say our main priority was each other.
Yes.
And growing our bond and our connection. Of course, working on ourselves at the same time, but spending so much time and energy together. But I talked to my friend Mike this weekend, and he was asking about us. And shout out Mike Adler, that is, stylist Mike Adler, to be extremely specific. And he said, well, are you sure like you want to be spending that much time and energy? It doesn't sound like the most positive thing. And I said, well, there's a difference. I said spending time and energy, not effort. And I think that's the difference between a really healthy relationship and then one that has issues and needs to be worked on, because I don't feel like I am ever exerting effort with you. Of course, everything takes energy. So having a conversation or doing something together, it's going to take energy, but I feel the most myself. I feel the most present. I feel the most fulfilled when we're together and we're doing things. And I don't feel like, oh, we're going to do this. Like it's so easy. And of course, that's why we've been able to do it for so long. And we said we could do it forever and never get tired because we could always have a conversation or do an activity or find fun in things. So it's so easy to continue, but we also realize we need to prioritize our careers and what we want to do outside of us.
Yes.
And yeah, I think we've built a great foundation. So I'm excited to talk about us and sort of how we built this and how we're going to move forward in a healthy way that doesn't feel like we're not spending any time with each other, but it doesn't feel like we're over indexing on the relationship.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I feel like we are two individuals who really value awareness and self-awareness. And these past few months just goes to show how much more awareness we
Yeah.
can grow, because we really have spent most of our waking hours together, which has been so wonderful. And at the same time, we, like you said, have neglected other things that we realize we're passionate about and realize that we need to spread more of our time and energy towards. So this job came at a good time, and we recently had the conversation, like, once we prioritize the other things and spread our time and energy towards the other things, like, our relationship's gonna look different, but in an amazing way, like, because for the times we are together, it'll be that much more intentional and precious, and it'll be an adjustment, like, missing each other because we've been so used to spending so much time together, and now it's like, when we've had a whole day apart, it's like, "Whoa, I miss him, and I'm thinking so much about him," and there are so many times we both have wanted to reach out to one another as our days are getting filled with other things, and, yeah, it's just amazing how much comfort makes you lose awareness, but I'm so grateful that that's something we also prioritize in the relationship is strengthening the muscle of discomfort and, uh being one with whatever change there is,
Mm.
whether that be, like, going harder at the gym, us having more working hours. We embrace change, we're so open to it, and we're open to the temporary discomfort that comes along with change.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. When I was talking to Mike about this, it made me feel a lot better because I feel like these last few months since I haven't prioritized career and work, which is something I know I want to do and to build something cool again, I felt I have felt stagnant in my life. And I don't like that feeling. I like to feel like I'm growing and I'm getting better in whatever realm that can be. And I even though I've been prioritizing physical health, I haven't really like done a race or like a marathon. So there's nothing that's like physically challenging me. But after talking to him, I realized, oh man, like even though I haven't been growing in those areas, I know for sure our relationship has grown and gotten deeper and better. So yeah, that's where the progress is being made. And there's progress somewhere. And that was just a nice kind of weight off my shoulders. Like, okay, clearly what I'm doing is actually happening. Something is happening. It's just not exactly where I thought it was happening. And of course that's the case because the time and energy we've spent together is what is far outweighing the time and energy we've spent apart doing the things that we want to do for you, acting, singing, and your passions for me, singing, training clients and doing the things that I like. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting shift,
Mhm.
but it feels like we're both on the same page when it came to me bringing it up in that conversation just when we were lying down and feeling like it was the right time to just say that. And
It
it
was.
wasn't like a shock, right? It's
No, we both felt it.
yeah, we're both on the same wave because we built such a strong foundation in the relationship. It's not like I said something, you're like, what? I feel like we don't spend any time together. And I think that can happen if there's not great communication. So yeah, I'm just proud of us for being present with that reality of like, all right, babe, there's a greater calling for us. And
Yes.
as much as we could literally spend every waking moment together and probably never get tired of it as long as we live, there are other things that we just need to get done. And there feels like a greater purpose calling us to do those things. And yeah, it's time to do them.
Yes. I have two things coming to mind. The first is, like we discussed, everything is relative. Are you sleepy?
No, I was just yawning.
I had to call it in.
I have been sleepy on this podcast before. That was like episode 4. If you ever watch that one back, maybe
He's
it's 5.
like trying hard to stay awake.
I'm narcoleptic. I'm not diagnosed with that, but I have a feeling I am. And yeah, I can fall asleep pretty much anywhere, anytime. But that is not the case right now. I thought about being tired, and no, I'm not that tired. But thank you for acknowledging it.
Yeah, no worries. It just felt like I felt bad seeing you like try to restrain it. Like I didn't know where you were at. So I wanted to just like shed a light on it.
I appreciate it.
For sure. So the two things I wanted to say is that, like we discussed, everything is relative. So yeah, the realization we've prioritized our relationship so much that maybe we've neglected our careers a bit. And it's understandable to be like feel a little sad about that. But at the same time, like someone who has made so much progress in their career maybe is not happy at all in terms of their love life. And everything is truly relative. And I think that grounds us in terms of being confident in where we're at, which I think is so great because everyone's living life for the first time. And there are so many relationship talks and podcasts, and there's no blueprint that people follow. So I think I could speak for both of us when we both enjoy sharing these details of our lives because this is what works for us, and we hope it can work for people who are watching, listening.
Yeah, that's such a great point about people who are over. I keep saying over index. I like that term, but like over indexing on career and work. And we know so many people who have done that. You hear about these stories all the time of the father who spent his whole life working and neglected his family and his kids and the people he loved the most, just to come later in life to find out that he made a mistake and he wishes he could go back and spend more time with his family. So there is a balance that needs to be had. And I think we're starting to feel like, oh, okay, we definitely went too far on this side of the spectrum, but we are acknowledging it and we're ready to make the shift to make it feel more balanced. And who knows, maybe we end up going too far in the other direction and feeling that. And then we have to come back to here. But I think the strong foundation that we've built is going to allow us and make it much easier for us to have a healthy boundary with each other, but also open communication. And hey, if you're feeling like I don't ever see you, or if I'm feeling like we're seeing each other too much again, like we can just talk about it, and there's just that clear space to bring up our concerns with each other. And I'm so grateful for that because I feel like every couple, every person just wants to have a relationship where they can bring up anything and feel seen and heard. Even if their partner doesn't agree with them, at least they're feeling like they understand what they're saying.
That they can speak their truth.
I feel like is the most important thing in a relationship. And I feel like unfortunately, so many people don't have that. And there's tension, and what is on someone's heart or mind can't be said in a healthy way without there being a fight or an argument. And it's like, if you're not allowed, or you're not allowing your partner to say their truth and speak it, how can you possibly how can you possibly expect to have a healthy relationship?
Yeah.
That's like the number one thing to making it work. So something to look into.
Yeah. The second thing I wanted to say was, and we can decide how deep we want to go into this thought, but not only do we both value being our own individuals in this partnership, but we value strengthening the muscle of releasing attachment, like on a basic human level, and even in the grander world of death, and strengthening the muscle of just being alone. Because again, like the way we talk about death in our relationship is like anything could happen at any time. So it makes that much our time together that much more precious. And the time we're apart, we're like, okay, I'm my own individual. Anything can happen at any time. Um, it's interesting because I imagine someone hearing that and being like, oh my gosh, that sounds so sad and unhealthy. But again, I think everything's a muscle, and strengthening that muscle of acceptance of death and not knowing when or how strengthens the life and the time we do have together and the confidence we build when we're apart.
Yeah, I feel like we have more gratitude because we are acknowledging the reality that we're both going to die. And it might not be tomorrow, but we also don't know. And with that comes the gratitude for life that every day could be our last, and we want to live it like that and share the love with each other that we both have.
Yes.
And I actually think it's the opposite of, I think it's healthy. It's not unhealthy and sad because at some point, inevitably, one of us will die and the other person will have to live with that. And so the more we can get comfortable with being alone now, the more it's going to help us in hopefully 30, 40, 50, 60 years when one of us dies and the other one is still living and we've spent even more time and we have more memories together and our bond is even deeper. And then now we can't see each other in the physical anymore. I mean, that we're almost preparing for that every day by doing the things that we're doing, expressing our gratitude, sharing our love, so that when that time comes, it's still sad, it still hurts, but we're prepared, and
As
we're
much as
not
we can
we're
be.
not denying that that's the case. Like we're not pretending like we're gonna both live forever, because if we do that, then I don't think we're gonna be able to express the gratitude that we both can express and want to express.
Yes. I think that's the key. Uh, to what extent we'll be prepared for when the time comes or when any death comes, it's hard to say. But I think it's our lack of denial when it comes to living forever that really grounds us to being here and having as much love as possible.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely something that couples could and should do more to really
What specifically?
think about these concepts more,
Yeah.
because by thinking about them, you accept them at some point, hopefully, and then you're able to actually say, wow, I know that this person that I love won't be here forever. I don't know how long I have with them. Let me express how much I care about them, because, I bring this up, I've brought this up a few times in the podcast, but after my dad died, it really helped me realize how much love we can share with the people that are still alive right now. And we don't have to wait till after they die to feel it.
Mm.
And by saying it and expressing it and really tapping into that love, it grows, I believe. And we allow other people to feel that, and what a gift it is to be able to do that while people are alive, because it's tough to do it, because we know that when they do die inevitably, like it's going to hurt that much more, but we're willing to accept that for the gift of that love while we're still alive now.
Yes, and I always say, like, to what extent is the denial of life being temporary influence people not expressing the love now? Like, that's the reason why it's only after death. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like, I wish I could have expressed and
Yeah.
received the love."
A lot of regrets.
Mhm. And it's because of the denial of death.
So people are in their minds denying that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so therefore they don't say the things that they really want to say until it's too late.
Yes,
Mm.
because if they were one with the fact that they don't know when that person's gonna die, if they were one with that fact that they don't know, that means they could die tomorrow and they would be unabashed in expressing the love to the best of their ability today, here and now.
So my question is, how do we teach people to love in that manner without having to go through the death of a loved one?
I think it begins with having a dialogue with yourself about death. Like, what do I think of death? What do I think of my own mortality? And I don't know when or how. And what do I think of, let's say, my partner or my parents or my best friends' death?
Yeah,
How does it make me
you
feel?
feel?
And really holding hands with any feelings that come up around it. Because even a few times in the dialogue we've had today, I've felt like the very beginnings of tears starting to well up because we're still at the beginning stages of being so at peace with it. But yeah, it starts with the self. Like, just sit in silence and just think the word death and see what comes up for you. That's what I would say is the first step to strengthening the muscle.
Yeah, does the word have a positive or negative association? Do you fear the word, or do you love and accept what death is?
It's
I'm also privileged because privilege is a funny word to use, but it's true. Having gone through grief this past 18 months, I just understand death so much more than I ever did before. And so I just have a totally different outlook and experience with it. That the reason I say privilege is because not everyone has that. Not everyone our age has dealt with the death of someone that they love so much, or someone that they had such a close knit relationship with. My dad and I's relationship was very tumultuous, but there was so much love and there was so much emotion attached to it because it's my dad and he was around my whole life and he was super present and he was part of everything I did. So you can't really get much closer as a relationship goes. And now having to process that, I just understand what that process looks and feels like a lot more. And that's a privilege to understand that, because really you can only understand it once you go through it and experience it. There's no book to read to understand those feelings.
Yeah, that just makes me think how much grief and gratitude goes hand in hand. And I wonder, it's so interesting about gratitude. Like, are children naturally grateful? Are they taught gratitude? How does one teach gratitude? What is the feeling? What is the action of gratitude? And like, I wonder if people who lack gratitude uh, really are confronted with it when they're confronted with grief for the first time. I also think anyone, because grief to me means loss, and on the spectrum of suffering, like, loss is the highest. But I feel that anyone who's suffered in any capacity uh, is able to experience gratitude versus people who haven't, quote unquote, suffered much in life, and they tend to have more of a lack of gratitude. But yeah, it's amazing how much grief really deepens the well of gratitude in general.
Yeah, sometimes it takes going through something traumatic or tragic to wake you up to the beauty that there is in life. And I feel like you can only feel that beauty and accept the magic that is life once you've accepted that there is also the other side of that, which is the deep sadness and the hurt
Yes.
and pain that exists. You can't deny that. And I think that was my sort of aha moment, which was, oh, I've just pretended like none of that is real. And so my positivity and my happiness was kind of also faked, because I didn't really know what true gratitude was until something tragic happened. And that is what awoke
That makes sense.
the gratitude in me to understand just how blessed we are to just be human and live this life. And as hard as it is, it's truly beautiful. And we have to remember that every day, as hard as that can get, especially on like mundane, hard, tough days.
Yes.
Like, these are all gifts that we get as humans.
Amen. Yeah, it seems like the more one is with death and grateful, the more one is with life and grateful. And the opposite is true. The less one is with death, um, the less perhaps grateful they are, and the less one they are with life, and the less grateful they are. So that's very interesting. But besides the beginning steps of thinking about death with oneself, I would say the next step would be to talk to a loved one or someone you trust. Like, what do you think of death? And then having a dialogue with them, and then really being one with how their responses are making you feel and being at peace with that. That's what I would say the next step is. Do you have any other thoughts when it comes to the question of how can one not wait till like death
Yeah.
happens in order to feel all the love now? What would you tell people?
I mean, I can give the advice that I now practice myself, which is to just say the things that are on your heart and your mind, even if it feels like it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because what's going to be way more uncomfortable and hard is not saying it. And sometimes you just need someone to tell you, like, hey, it's okay to say those things.
Yes.
Because some people they just don't have that awareness.
They've never been told that growing up.
I totally understand that because I didn't have that awareness until my dad died. And now, in those moments of opportunity to be able to state how I'm feeling or what I think of something, I always take advantage of it and just speak my truth in that moment. And it's so powerful to do that for oneself and then also the person or the people receiving it, because it's the utmost truthful expression that we can give as humans who are speaking to each other. We have our voice, hopefully. If you have your voice, you can literally send a message to another person and say something that can make them feel better. That's freaking cool.
Yeah.
How can we not take advantage of that gift of our voice that travels to someone else that can make them feel good inside? And yet,
And yourself.
yeah, yourself is the number one thing. Like being able to say it is actually so powerful, and that makes you feel good. But then the bonus is you make someone else feel good, which then in turn makes you feel even better because you know you're helping someone else as well. It's like the most selfish, unselfish thing you could do, because you know you're doing it for you. But it's helping someone else. So that's completely unselfish. But then again, it comes back to you, like by you saying something nice to someone else that makes you feel good, it makes them feel good. Everyone wins. So yeah, I think just telling someone like, hey, you're allowed to do that. It's okay.
Yes.
It's funny how uncomfortable we are with like speaking truth and giving people compliments. Like
So-
it's as if it takes away from our own when we give someone else a compliment. Like
Yeah.
if you're this, then I can't be this. It's like, no, we can all be great. We can all be awesome. Just because you're awesome doesn't mean there's less awesome that exists.
I think that's great advice in terms of another practice to strengthen the muscle of love while we're alive, so we don't have to wait till death, is just speaking your truth. I think that's brilliant because speaking about death probably is one of the most challenging things for people to speak their truth on. So if we practice with the trivial things of life about speaking your truth, like for example, if we're in bed and I want you to move over, even speaking that can be hard for people. Saying like, babe, can you just move your arm?
Yeah.
Babe, move over. And just practice speaking your truth, even if it's the most trivial thing like that.
Yeah.
And the more we're able to strengthen the muscle of speaking your truth, the more we'll be able to strengthen the muscle of speaking your truth on tougher topics.
I'm listening to the book Power of Habit or Atomic
Atomic.
Habits. Yeah. There's another book, Power of Habit.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Repetition is the key to getting better at something and creating a habit. It's just doing it over and over and over again. So the more we get comfortable with giving gratitude and speaking to other people the truth and compliment, it doesn't always have to be a compliment, but just speaking truth, the more comfortable we get, the more we repeat it, the easier it's going to be. But if we do it one day and then we stop doing it for a week, it's going to be a lot harder to go back and do it again. So for me, anytime I have the opportunity to express gratitude to someone and I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to this person in a while, like I go right for it. And it's been uncomfortable in the beginning because I know that this person hasn't experienced that from me, but I'm still willing to be vulnerable, not because I need anything in return, but just because I want to speak it into existence and speak my truth. And it's been so amazing. And like every new person that I run into who I've known for a while, I get to like share that beautiful gratitude with. And I know I've grown because I've never done that before. I've never been able to do that with people that are close to me. So it's so cool to see my evolution of just speaking from my heart. Heart's over here. I want to bring it back to relationships though, because I feel like that's how we started this. I love how our conversations just meander, but everything's interconnected anyway, so it makes sense. Yeah, I want to talk about relationships and what you feel is a good balance when it comes to spending time with someone or not spending time with someone. Like, how can we figure out that perfect balance that feels good for us two? For good anyone else, like us two, how can we find that balance? I'm gonna sneeze.
It's always when you say it, it never comes out. Why is that
I
though?
had to give a warning. Wow.
But have you given warnings and
Never.
it still comes out?
No.
I feel like that's a phenomenon. Like if you say it out loud, I'm going to sneeze, it never comes out.
Wow. Maybe I have to do that more often.
I think that might be the key for you.
Wow, we might have just unlocked a huge secret.
People with allergies.
I'm gonna try it the rest of the day. I'm gonna sneeze. Wow. Thank you for that.
For sure. Okay, so relationships, space,
Perfect balance.
perfect
for us.
balance for us.
How do we know? Is it just a feeling?
I think it's a feeling, and I think it's, are we doing this? Are we spending time together out of convenience and comfort versus intention and fulfillment at most? Because I'm thinking about, so I got a new job and Ethan lives very close to my new job, and Ethan also has a roommate, and there are a couple of variables at play. Like, as much as it would be easy for me to just like, I'll stay over, it's a privilege to live with someone, and we have time before we're going to take that step. So we want to really embrace our independent spaces while we can. I mean, it's just incredible. Like, living together is a privilege and living separately is also a privilege. Such pros to both. And I feel like if there's an event we're both going to, like we have a birthday party Saturday, it makes sense for me to
Shout out Alyssa.
shout out happy birthday.
Happy belated by the time this comes out.
Yes.
You're 30.
30. Like, it makes sense. And then if it's like I end work at 4 and I have the rest of the evening free, it's like, it would be so easy just to hang with
Yeah.
Ethan. But easy is not necessarily what is most fruitful in terms of our relationship, in terms of what we can accomplish on our own. So when it comes to, like, when it just makes sense for me, and that'll be clear, I stay. And then when it just feels convenient and comfortable, like I don't want to face myself in other respects, then it's like, okay, Emily, you can go home and vice versa.
Yeah. Just not forcing it is what I'm hearing, and knowing when it's the right time versus not the right time. And I wonder if over these next few weeks and months, there will be times where maybe you end up feeling like, no, this whole week, like I'm not sleeping over. It just feels right to be at home and to do work here, and kind of getting into the habit of that. And then, like I said, we kind of end up falling towards the other side of the spectrum, but I think it'll be a good dance to have and see what we feel like our best frequency is of seeing each other, and learning from that, because we have to get a little uncomfortable. We've spent so much time together and it's been so
we're both ready.
Even though we're growing, I do believe we're growing. We don't spend much time together and not do productive things. We had our
for sure
one season of Severance, which was great. But then we were like, we don't
We have
even.
to stop.
Yeah, we were both on the same page. We're like, we don't really want to watch a second season,
We
and
don't need
like,
to.
there's literally no point. It wasn't really doing much for us except for giving us, an hour of distracted
That
time.
was fun though.
It was great. I don't regret it at all. But I'm happy that we both decided on just not continuing, and
For sure.
that was just an intentional choice of
We could.
we could.
A part of us, of course, wants it, but that's what's going to feel most fulfilling for us as individuals and as a couple.
And I
No.
think and I think knowing that we made the choice not to finish it feels that much better. Like, no, we have the power over not like this show doesn't have power over us.
Yes.
Because while we were watching Severance, we watched an episode every night. We capped it at one almost the whole season, but we still watched it every night, and we got into the habit of watching it every night. So I remember after the first season, I was like, we got to take a little break and give ourselves a little time away. And by the time we did, it was like, we don't really need to watch this again. So it's kind of good to say, okay, how is this going now? Like outside of the show, and give yourself a score on that, and then decide what to do moving forward. So I think that's exactly what we'll do with our relationship. We'll know how much time is best.
How does it feel?
If it feels like, oh man, we never see each other, and like the relationship stops growing, then we know we need to spend more time and energy with each other. But if it feels like it's working, and maybe it's like, oh man, but this isn't that much time, but it feels right, like we go with it. And I think trusting ourselves and knowing what feels right is most important, because we figured it out with spending too much time. So we'll know if it's too little time, and we'll also know if it's just right. And I'm excited to tune into that energy and like really dial in what feels best for us to forget about anyone else, because everyone's gonna have different frequencies.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna have different rhythms at work, but for us too, like, what is the optimal frequency?
Mm-hmm. This is kind of random, but related. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it's like the Latin root of the word religion is relationship. It means relationship, and relationships are ever evolving. And I love that because it made me more open to like spirituality and the world of religion. Like, oh, and to God, like it's an ever evolving relationship. It can be more frequent. It can be less frequent at times. It's ever evolving and changing, and that's great. And less frequent, more frequent, one's not better than the other, as long as there's a foundation of openness and love. And it just reminds me of relationship. Like it's ever evolving, and I'm so excited for we're so lucky that figuring out frequency in space is, I feel like, our only obstacle right now. I was going to say I'm so excited for other obstacles to come our way, but I'm
Only if they're easy like this.
but it's exciting in terms of these types of obstacles to be like, okay, how are we going to work? How are we going to transform? How are we going to evolve?
How are we going to navigate these waters? And the reason I say that is because I just thought of the word relationship. 2 words, relation and ship.
Mm.
And we really are navigating as a partnership the waters of life and what comes our way, and how to really, because we can't change the water. We can't change the ocean and what we're going through.
Life.
But we can redirect the ship and go somewhere else, or pause, or turn around. Like, there's so many things that can be done with just us, but the outer environment we can't necessarily
control.
Change. And then I also thought about, I had a session with Kyle, who's my coach. He said, Ethan, you got to just let your life ebb and flow as it is. And it got me emotional when he said that, because a part of me really does try to control things and like manage, but the truth is life does ebb and flow. And the more I let go, the more I'll allow life to do what it's supposed to do, which I believe I believe that life works for us, not against us. Like, I 100% have that positive belief. I have always had that. So the more I let go, the more life works for me. And I've seen that over and over again. And with our relationship, of course, I want to hold on to it. I want to hold on to you. I don't want to let you go, but I know that by letting you go, it will help us grow and in both our relationship and our individual lives. And I'm just excited for that growth to happen. It is inevitable. We're going to spend more time doing other things. Those things will be productive, positive things. I know that. I trust both of us that we're not going to just fall off and go do some stupid shit. And I'm excited for that.
Yes, me too. I just want to comment on the phrase ebb and flow. I think it's such a beautiful phrase, and I understand why it would bring up feelings for you. I think as humans, it's so easy to make analogies that are related to nature because we are nature. We are life. We are water, literally. And that's so gorgeous. Like, I always think about how literally when you talk to plants in a loving way, they grow. And if you actually talk to them in a, I think, disparaging, that could be,
Negative.
yeah, in a negative way, they wilt. That is, when I heard that, I remember when I heard that was in 2019 when I learned that when I was working in another restaurant. And I was so moved by that because I mean, think about babies when we talk to them and ourselves. When we talk to babies or ourselves in a loving way, we grow. And when we don't, like, we wilt, we die, which is so incredible. And that's why, like, I'm like, there must be a God, or like this life is so magical, how analogous we are to nature. And we are, like, when Ethan and I hugged a tree this morning. We hugged the tree,
Yes, we did.
and hugging that tree gave me strength. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it was so beautiful, that tree, and so strong in her power. And it just made me feel like I'm strong in my power. That tree is me. I'm that tree. And I just said, thank you, tree. I love you, tree. Like, you're so beautiful. And I felt her life hugging that
Wow.
tree. It was so beautiful because I told Ethan this morning after our workout, I am having a bad body image day. I don't feel good in my body. And we were walking through this beautiful, are they cherry blossoms? 'Cause
Yeah, I
they look
think
like,
so.
they're so beautiful. And Ethan was like, these trees are so beautiful. And they're not thinking about, oh, that tree has longer branches or that tree has more. They're just being in their beauty. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Yeah, and that goes back to what we were saying before about being able to express gratitude is a gift. We share that gift with someone else. It makes their day better, makes us feel better. Same thing with the plant. You're sharing that gratitude, you're sharing that love, and the plant, which is not a human, somehow senses the positive vibrations that come from those words and is uplifted from it, literally. And I think, like, yeah, nature is incredible, and we are nature. Like,
Yes.
we're not separate from nature. We are nature itself.
Mm.
And once we realize that we're all connected in this beautiful way, I feel like life opens up and you can really accomplish some magical, magical things. And we're both on the path to doing that along with our listeners, because if you're listening to us and you're tuning into this frequency and this channel and this podcast, you're clearly wanting these same things out of life because you wouldn't be here otherwise.
Yes. What are you feeling now?
I'm feeling like we can wrap this up.
I agree.
And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the M&E Show. This is episode number 23. We broke down relationships, gratitude,
Death,
again.
space.
I got to sneeze. I stopped it again.
Wow. I'm so curious if stopping it's going to make you feel that feeling more. Like, I'm so curious how this is going to go.
I'm enamored by this new gift.
Does it feel better? Because I know when people
I
say
feel fine.
they get upset when they stop it.
Oh, I want to stop. I don't need to sneeze 100 times a day. My allergies are kicking in the spring.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you have a beautiful day. And thank you always.
Farewell.